All right, I'm going to go over real quick how to do the domain of a composite function. If you read this part at the top in the box, it actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense. For you guys, just because your math vocabulary is not quite as advanced. So it says you're supposed to find the domain of G, find the domain of F, and then find the inputs X in the domain of G, for which G of X is in the domain of F. So if you think about, if you have F composed of G, remember that means F of G of X. So you're going to take G of X and sub it into the F function where the X is. So you get 5 over 4 over 3x minus 2 minus 1. So you basically have two denominators. I'm going to zoom this in. You have a denominator here, the small one, and then you have a big fraction bar here. So you're going to do two things because you don't want to divide by 0, if you remember that from last time. This denominator cannot equal 0. Add 2, divide by 3. X cannot equal 2 thirds. So you've got to take 2/3 out of the domain. Likewise, you have this big denominator. That also cannot equal 0 because you're not supposed to divide by 0. So add the 1 over, multiply. You could do a proportion also. I might just show you a proportion. If you make this 1 over 1, then remember you can just cross multiply. So 3x minus 2, if you multiply this way, has to equal 4 times 1. Add 2. Divide by 3. X cannot equal 2. So for your domain, you've got to take out 2/3 and 2. Let me show you what that looks like. D colon. You want all real numbers except for these two. The lowest one is 2/3, so you put negative infinity, comma 2/3, parenthesis to take it out. Repeat the 2/3, comma 2, union, parenthesis, take it out, infinity. So this right here is the domain for 15. Okay, 16 is kind of similar. I just threw an even root in there. So on 16, you're still going to take G of X and substitute it into F of X. So you'll have 1 over square root of x plus 4 minus 2. So this time you have an even root here, and then you have a denominator. So you're going to take that denominator, the whole thing, whatever's underneath that fraction bar, cannot equal 0. Add 2. Square both sides. This is a square root, right? There's a 2 in there. So to undo it, you need to square both sides. You get x plus 4 cannot equal 4. And subtract 4, x cannot equal 0. That's the first part. And then you have the darn even root under there. So for the even root, remember you take what's underneath. X plus 4 has to be greater than or equal to 0. So x has to be greater than or equal to negative 4. If you think about a number line on that one, you would have an open circle at 0 because it can't equal 0, and then you'd have a closed circle at negative 4 greater than or equal to. So on this one, your domain starts at negative 4, square bracket, negative 4, comma, take 0 out, union, 0, infinity. Done. If you would like to try 17 and 18, it's the same idea. I'll just kind of go through them here on the video in case you are interested in seeing those. Sub 5 over x minus 1 in for both of those x's. I should have made that green, that's all right. You get the idea. Plus 3. This time you have the two small denominators, which are the same. That's a good thing, because then you have less work to do. So for these two, x minus 1 cannot equal 0. X cannot equal 1. And then you have the whole denominator under the big fraction. 2 times 5 over x minus 1 plus 3 cannot equal 0. Subtract 3. Divide by 2. You might want to just do that cross multiply again. Just make sure you distribute that negative 3 through there. So negative 3x plus 3 cannot equal 10. Subtract 3. X cannot equal negative 7/3. Domain, you just want to take those out. So negative infinity, the lower one is negative 7/3. Union, negative 7/3, comma 1, union 1, comma infinity. Okay, 18, take that square root, sub it in for the x's. So you have 2, 4 square root, 4x minus 4x plus 5 over 3 square root 4x plus 5 minus 1. So now you have an even root and a denominator. So take that denominator. Cannot equal 0. Add 1. Divide by 3. Square both sides to get rid of that square root. If it's a fourth root, remember you'll take both sides to the fourth power. So 4x plus 5 cannot equal 1/9. 4x cannot equal negative 4 8/9. And then divide that by 4. If you type that into the calculator, you'll get negative 11/9 for this one. X cannot equal negative 11/9. And then underneath the radical, you have 4x plus 5, and it's even. If it's an odd root, remember, we don't care about those. Even roots, whatever's underneath has to be greater than or equal to 0. So x is greater than or equal to negative 5/4. Domain, negative 5/4 with a square bracket, comma, negative 11/9, parenthesis, union, negative 11/9, comma, infinity.